Hey everybody, John L here. Hope you're doing well. So the Mind Gem season has started, and with that, there have been a couple character updates. 4-star Riri and 4-star Mordo are the two characters. Okay, so let's take a look at Riri first. So what I've done is a comparison between the two versions. So on the left is the old version of Riri, on the right is the new version after the update. Both of them are level 160. I haven't changed their level since the update. Match damage is all the same. The big difference is that they've given her a big bump in HP. That's fantastic. I think one of the big knocks for Riri was that her HP was so low when she maxed out at 270. I think it was around like 10,000, 11,000, which is really, really, really low for a 4-star character. One of the big knocks, of course, is because of, having only like 11,000 HP. A strong, special attack can literally take her out in one hit. So, giving this big bump of health to her puts her, on par with other 4-star characters, and maybe even makes her a bit stronger than other 4-star characters in health. So, I think that's a big addition right there. Next, let's take a look at her powers. So on the left are her old power set, and on the right are the updated powers. So besides being weak with HP, Riri was, I guess, kind of built like a support character. They put like a really, really, really big focus on her and eliminating or blunting opponent special tiles, and I think it just got out of hand. She didn't really end up being, realistically good at managing that. So her old power, her old blue magnetic repulsors, used to attract, at level 3 covers, would attract 6 enemy tiles, special tiles, and bring them to the center of the board and lock one of them. So I'm not quite sure what the idea was about, just sucking all the tiles at the center of the board. Locking them is useful, but, it's kind of like not really attractive as a power. What they've done was now blue deals damage, so that's always a plus. And it does attract 4 random basic enemy special tiles to the center of the board, but it converts them to red. So that actually helps, considering it'll, maybe make some matches and, charge up remote control gauntlets. So that's definitely a step up in that power. With her red, still stays the same as 11 AP, just like the blue. And her red used to also have a component about dealing with enemy special tiles again. So she would fire off her remote gauntlets, it'd do damage to the enemy target, and then place a 3-turn countdown tile that would unlock and remove 3 enemy attacked or protect strike tiles. I guess that works with magnetic repulsors, but the whole thing just seems, very creative but not super useful. So the new remote control gauntlets, much better. So fires her gauntlets, and they do 1,770 damage at this level to the non-target enemies, or 3,538 damage to the main target if no other enemies remain. So basically, kind of moderate damage to 2 enemies, or a strong amount of damage to 1 enemy if the other enemies don't remain. I think it's better than the old red, and especially when we get to 5 covers, I think it definitely got much better. Her green, Selfless Intervention, which stays at 8 AP, did damage just like it used to. Looks like they toned this one down a little bit. Had some kind of weird, I don't know who thought of this and thought it would be a good idea, but you fire off the power, sends the target airborne for 2 turns, and then sends Riri airborne for 2 turns. So I don't know. I mean, I don't like sending my own characters airborne unless it's Vulture. So they changed that up, and now the power sends the opponent airborne, does less damage, sends the opponent airborne, and if there's 4 enemy special tiles, then Riri goes airborne for a little bit. So now it's more kind of like a punishment versus actually just part of the power. So that's at 3 covers. So it's definite improvement right there. Let's take a look at 5 covers. So at 5 covers, Magnetic Repulsor is like just night and day different. So it used to attack 10 enemy attack, protect, or strike tiles and lock 4 of them. Unless you're fighting someone like Carnage, I think it's really hard to get 10 enemy special tiles on the board. Instead, it deals 2,027 damage and attracts 4 random basic special, or just enemy special tiles to the center and turns them to red charge tiles. That's definitely good. Again, if you somehow get like a few reds just kind of hovering around the board, and then you cast blue, and it turns into 4 red charge tiles, you can get a lot of red AP out of that. So I actually think that might be her best new power. So again, remote control gauntlets, kind of the same thing. Does 8,000 damage, and then 2-turn countdown tile that removes 4 enemy special tiles. That becomes just 4,000 damage to the non-target enemies, or 8,000 damage to the target enemies. So slightly less damage to the target enemy. Doesn't have this kind of bonus ability about removing enemy projectiles, which were only locked, so you'd have to have done the Magnetic Repulsor thing. I still like it. I think it's a pretty good hit. And remember, bear in mind, my character is only at level 160, so at 270 she does a ton more damage. Selfless Intervention. Again, this time Riri only goes airborne for 1 turn with the old power. With the new power, she sends the opponents airborne for 3 turns, and then if there were 4 special tiles, she only goes airborne for 1. So, very big redo, update, change to Riri. A lot more HP, a lot more useful powers. I definitely like the blue, and I think she will definitely... This turns her into like a much more usable character, I think. So, we'll take a look and give her a play. Okay, so we'll play a quick match with Riri and see what her new abilities are like. I'm pairing her up with Surfer. Basically, any 5-star who has a strong red, blue, and green would be pretty good, just because, you'll be trying to match up those colors with her. I'm using Loki just because, it doesn't really matter. We want to see what Riri does. So I was actually playing this earlier, and this team actually works really well, though, just because her blue is going to create red tiles. If you have it at 5, it's going to create those red charge tiles, and it could actually be really devastating. So let's get into this fight. So right out of the gates, I'm going to try to get blue. And this is actually a nice looking board, just because there's that red in the center. Well, not in the center anymore. But if we can get her blue going, that can actually be a pretty big deal. Oh, I should have matched that. Okay. So I always like to use low-key with Scarlet Witch, just because there's always those potentials for the 4 and 5 matches. So we'll go ahead and use Magnetic Repulsors. So that attack can be pretty devastating, especially, again, if you have someone who has really strong red. So we'll go ahead and use remote control gauntlets. This is probably better. Let's see, the attack from the flank, dealing 5,000 damage to the non-target enemies, or 10,000 to the target if no other enemies remain. So it's not going to do as much damage, just because, you know, there's a bunch of enemies on, but it'll take out Scarlet Witch, so that's nice. Oh, actually, okay, it doesn't do any damage to Iceman. Alright, so let's go ahead and let me build up some red here. Well, let's get some green going. Let's see what her selfless intervention does now. Oh. Awesome. Alright, here, let's use magnetic repulsors again. Oh, it's gonna... Yep. Okay, so magnetic repulsors really is not that great in my opinion. I really like her blue. And hopefully we can get some green out of this. Actually, no, they don't have any green. Let's leave that. Watch them match it away. Probably not the best match to be trying this out on. Okay, well that'll get it done. So who do we want to hit? This is gonna launch someone and deal not that much. I only have 3 covers in my selfless intervention, so it's gonna be weak, but even at the 5 covers, it didn't look like it really did a whole lot of damage. I think it's kind of more along the lines of just, you know, taking them out of the fight. The air deals damage to the target, setting them airborne for 2 turns. There are at least 4 enemy special on the board. Her armor reacts to the impact, sending Riri airborne. Okay, so I'm not quite sure what happened, but Iceman isn't airborne, so that is kind of a weird little glitch right there. Either way, we'll kill him. Just for the sake of it, I'm going to use magnetic repulsors again. I think this is the best power now, just because, you know, if you had someone like Cyclops, Surfer works, you know, anyone who has a strong red attack, you know, just to have 4 red charge tiles on the board is pretty fantastic. That's like a lot of red right there. Alright, I just use remote gauntlets. Try to take her out. So, I think the power changes have actually made a pretty good difference for Riri. I thought she was way too low on HP to begin with, and I didn't really like the fact that her powers didn't do any damage. You know, they were more about, like, kind of controlling enemy special tiles. Blue is now a really good power for her, I think. And it doesn't look like green really changed up too much. And I think red is pretty effective if you're down to, like, 1 enemy. Otherwise, it's pretty meh. So just putting her in a team, I'm not quite sure, like, I would do it just because I really don't like her, you know, green and red power. I think, you know, there are better ones out there, but that blue's not bad, so she could work. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. Okay, so let's take a look at Mordo now. So yes, this is actually correct. On the left is the old Mordo, and on the right is the new Mordo. So Mordo actually got nerfed in the health department, so they took away about 1,500 in health. I'm not sure why. I didn't really think Mordo was that great of a character to begin with, but I guess they saw fit to kind of take his HP down a little. So, I don't know. I never really agree with, like, taking away HP for characters. There's, like, so many other 4-stars that have, like, you know, so much more HP that I can't see Mordo as being a character that was, like, just overwhelmingly strong with HP. But anyway, so he loses a little bit HP. Let's take a look at his 3 cover powers. So same thing, on the left are his old set of powers, on the right are the updated set of powers. So Staff of the Living Tribunal, it actually goes up by 1 AP from 7 to 8. Looks like what they did was, so the initial one deals 1,305 damage and converts 1 black basic tile to a charge tile, or if there are 5 or more black charge tiles, deal 179 damage to the enemy team for each black charge tile. So the new one deals a little bit more damage and initially, and deals much more damage for each charged black tile. Also, it converts 1 more black charge tile and requires 1 less black charge tile before you deal the damage. So that power is mainly the same, and looks like it kind of got a tune-up, a little bit more expensive, but it is kind of a nice power. Vaulting Boots of Valtor, for the most part, stays the same, still 10 blue AP. Instead of doing 1939 in damage to the target, does 2445, so it looks like he got a boost in damage there. And it does the same, converts 2 basic tile of the enemy's strongest color to black charge tiles. So when you're playing Mordo, you definitely want to do Vaulting Boots of Valtor to Staff of the Living Tribunal, so that way you'll kind of get the biggest bang for your buck. The power that they've made the biggest change to looks like Power with Purpose. So I didn't really find this power very useful to begin with. It's a 9 AP purple, and 3 covers. It just stuns the target for 1 turn, steals 2 blue and purple AP. So I guess that, you know, kind of builds up Vaulting Boots and Power with Purpose, but 9's kind of expensive for, you know, a stun and to steal only like a couple AP. So they went with a different direction on this one, and now it's Mordo fervently adheres to the natural law and punishes those that break it. Deals 260 damage for each AP in the enemy's highest color AP pool, then destroys 3 of it. So it doesn't sound like it's too big of a deal, but this power can actually build to be really strong. So 3 covers is actually pretty weak for this, but think like 4-star Wolverine's black. How, you know, it's only like a few hundred, but, you know, if they have something like 20 or 30 tiles, or, you know, somewhere around like, you know, 15, 20 AP, and his highest color, not strongest color, so just, you know, whatever their highest count of AP is, you know, he'll do X amount of damage for it, which can actually be kind of a pretty devastating attack. So I actually do like that change. So we'll take a look at what those powers become with 5 covers. So basically, for Staff of the Living Tribunal, whenever you call it, summon it, whatever, basically he's going to convert as many tiles to black charge tiles as are needed to do the extra damage. So you can see, though, that at 5 tiles, or I mean at 5 covers, the initial power, the old version, dealt more just initial damage than the new one, but the new one goes from, so the initial one dealt 3,045 damage initially. The new one only deals 1,654 initially, but the old one only did 697 damage for each charge tile. The new one deals 1,090 damage for each charge tile, so that's actually kind of a big bump, and it maxes out at 8 charge tiles. So even with my level 160 low Mordo here, that's kind of a pretty stiff attack. If I had been able to, call vaulting boots of Valtor, and get just a bunch of black charge tiles on the board. So taking a look at vaulting boots at 5 covers, so basically the same. Only does like a little bit more damage, converts 3 basic tiles to black charge tiles, so very similar to the 3 cover version of the power. So with the purple power with purpose, he used to stun and then for 1 turn and steal 3 blue, black, and purple AP, which I guess is better. Power with purpose gets a lot better, deals 627 damage for each AP in the enemy's highest color pool, then destroys 5 of it. So again, this is only for level 160 Mordo, so at 270, I would assume this power kind of balloons to maybe like 1,000 or something like that. So just imagine if the enemy team has 15, 20 AP in their strongest pool. You call this power and it'll deal something like 20,000 damage. So Mordo does have some pretty strong attacks now. I guess the HP nerf is acceptable, given that a lot of his powers got like some pretty strong bumps. So let's go ahead and play a quick game with Mordo. Okay, so let's take a look at Mordo. We'll go ahead and play a quick match with him and see what his powers look like now. Again, I don't expect a whole lot different. It doesn't really look like they did too much with his powers. His black looks like they decided to just take out more of the initial damage and make it so the turn-based damage is bigger, and blue is essentially the same, again just a little bit more in damage, and then purple's the one where they made a big difference, where it's not a stun and steal AP, but does damage per AP. So now I just need to find this guy. Alright, here we'll give our Surfer a heal. And who else? We'll just leave Loki here. Alright, so let's start stacking up the, let's see. So a lot of this is going to be based on him getting black charge tiles. So it looks like the whole point of this is it's a power that kind of keeps feeding itself. His black basic tiles are charge tiles. If there are 4 more black charge tiles, deal damage up to a maximum of 8. And then, doesn't blue turn things into charge tiles? Yeah. Alright, the basic tiles, enemy strongest color into... Alright, so let's work on blue first, because it looks like that's what they want you to do with Mordo here. So if you have a character who needs black, who you play frequently with, looks like Mordo is your guy. And of course we get a board where there's no blue. Okay, well, let's see, there's no... Am I gonna get hit with anything? Maybe She-Hulk's green? Nope, we got one more too. Alright, let's try to rack up some purple here. Well, there goes Loki. Alright, I'd really like to get another blue match just so we could probably see more of a, I hate She-Hulk. More of a result from, black, but you know what, we're just gonna do it anyways. Alright. So not too much damage there, and then it turned the most useless black tiles into charge tiles. Always. Let's see, we needed purple. Right. So this Mordo that I have is only level 160, so his powers are going to be really weak. But, you know, maybe at least we'll get an idea of kind of what he looks like. Okay, cool. So here's some more blue. Make sure not to... What does it do? That Chekhov's rifle. Okay, cool. So we'll cash in a little bit on this black charge tiles right here. Okay, cool. At least she didn't steal. Whoop. Any useful colors from me? Is there anything we can use? Screw you. No purple, no black, no green. This is a hell of a board. How much blue do we need? Alright, here. There we go. Alright, so we'll see what his blue is. Alright, well, that doesn't do a whole lot. So he's still a little bit AP. Actually, okay, so yeah, deals 386 for each AP in the enemy's highest color pool. So if they have like 30, that could be really devastating, and he's like at max level, but I guess it really depends on how much AP that they're sitting on. Let's go Vaulting Boots of Valor. Valor? Okay, so yeah, it just turns more tiles into black charge tiles. So, I don't know, I'm not too impressed. They didn't really make too much of a difference for Mordo. I think the purple is actually maybe like the best addition to his powers. Having someone who makes black charge tiles is good. I don't know if there's a whole lot of people who generate a whole lot of like black AP. Maybe that's kind of the purpose of him. Alright, let's just kill her. I'm not really sold though. He doesn't have a stun, he doesn't steal AP. He doesn't, I don't know, he doesn't generate any kind of like you know, strike, attack, or protect tiles, which is the thing that I kind of generally like with characters. He's really kind of just there for the black charge tiles. So, anyways, let me know what you guys think, and yeah, I think that's kind of what Mordo does. I also don't like the fact that they nerfed him a little bit on the health. I don't see really why that would need to have been done. I didn't think, you know, Mordo was one of those guys who was like a juggernaut or something. So, anyways, thanks for watching.